access certainly drilled down to what it is we believe is the most important components of training as we continue to push forward. Some of that obviously is going to center on training and awareness around enabling technology. There are certainly additional opportunities to bolster training on person-centered approach, community navigation, assisting people in establishing true community natural networks, things like that. So I think we're looking at this as an opportunity across the board to, one, unify training requirements, and then two, sit down and talk with people supported, their families, our provider network, and probably most importantly, DSPs, about how we can make training curriculum more accessible to them, easier to understand, and then how we can, as a community, point training to help people truly achieve the outcomes that people supported are stating they want to see. It's been a little while since we all kind of sat down and examined the curriculum, for instance, and I think that this gives us a great opportunity to align curriculum with our expectations for the program. So a single aligned system, and then we want to make it as accessible and useful as possible without layering it with things that we think might bring little value to DSPs.
Thanks, Jordan. Okay, the next question is the concept plan states that quality assurance will be aligned under DIDD. How will QA be aligned and implemented, and what, if any, influence will agency accreditation have in the process? We have our Assistant Commissioner for Quality Management on here, Pat Nichols. Pat, do you want to address this?
Certainly. Good morning, everyone. The short answer is that we're still very, very early in the planning phase for quality management processes in the new aligned system. We know they're going to be aligned, and we know they're going to address the things that we have outlined in that paper as being important for us, such as meeting outcomes and the other things that are mentioned. Accreditation, of course, will come into play as well, and we will be starting looking at those particular areas in the very near future. Thanks, Carol.
Thanks a lot, Pat. Next question. Can you explain what providers can expect to see related to funding for services for DIDD-supported individuals next July compared to today? The person who asked the question gave several examples of current rates and what those rates are now, and what would these rates and services look like after program integration. Jordan, do you want to discuss this a little bit?
Sure, and great question. And I know this one, based on the feedback we've received, this kind of question is kind of at the top of the thought for providers across the network, especially after the release of the overview document. The short answer is there will be no changes between now and 7/1 of next year. And then expanding a little bit, it's certainly far too early for us to comment or assume how funding will look, what the methodology will look like. That'll all be decided in the months to come, and will be decided in discussions with the network. We have a couple of groups set up to begin discussing that. The Partners in Innovation group certainly will start walking through some of those concepts. The Strategic Leadership group will continue to focus on that kind of discussion going forward. What we know for sure at this point is we've heard loud and clear that provider agencies want to see flexibility within the benefit structure. People supported want the flexibility to be able to essentially receive the services that they want at the time that they want. So we're moving away, as the overview document certainly talks about. We're trying to move away from compartmentalizing people's lives in a 6-hour block in the middle of the day, for instance, for day services, and trying to develop a benefit structure that allows people to work on the outcomes that they've decided are important to them during the days and the times that are convenient with their schedule. And I think that it's also fair to say that we want to figure out how we can avail differing rates for technology and support providers in their ability to provide services in a different way when people don't need direct supports. And so all of those things, I think, will enter into the conversations around value-based payment incentives, around rate structure, around funding methodologies for the rates that ultimately will go into a new program design. Again, between now and 7/1, we're not going to see any change, certainly any substantive change. And then as we start to work through some of these questions and concepts, the new single system program design will start to take a little bit of shape, and we'll have a much better idea as a community as to what the answers to some of these questions are. It's just too early to say yet because we haven't really even opened that discussion up.
Jordan. Okay, our next two questions were questions, how do we get CQL certified, and when can we start taking person-centered Webex classes? Courtney Kelly, our Assistant Commissioner for Accreditation and Person-Centered Practices, was unable to join us this morning for the call. However, we will make sure we have who asked the question, and we'll make sure to have someone on the accreditation team reach out and explain the process to you. We just wanted you to know we did get the question, and we are committed to getting that information to you. Next question, when will DSPs start taking technology classes and training, and what is that process? I'm going to take that one over to Jordan.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kara. So the DSP training curriculum around technology, we're in the process right now of working with a vendor, in fact, the vendor. It's a group called the Disability Cocoon, and they're pretty much the foremost authority on training and building capacity around enabling technologies. The training itself will become available and will go online at the point at which we're ready to launch a lot of the new program incentives. And again, those discussions are just now getting ready to begin. And so I can't give you a time or a date specifically. I do know that we're planning a pilot project here very shortly that will avail an opportunity to some agencies, those who submit and qualify, to begin going through this training curriculum. I can tell you that the curriculum that's been developed, it conceptualizes training from a base level, a DSP who's never been exposed to the availability of enabling technologies, and runs all the way up through a mid-level management training approach, and then an organizational or an executive level training certification. And ultimately, at the end of it, for agencies that fully engage, it will be an accreditation process that looks a lot like any of the other accreditations, CQL or other. But at a base level, what we want to do is avail the opportunity for everybody across the system, every DSP working, to have some level of exposure to the availability of technologies, how those technologies impact the lives of people supported. And we're hoping to create an opportunity for them. You know, I think we've long agreed across the board that direct support professionals are the backbone of the work that we do. And the better our DSPs are at helping people work through tools available to them to accomplish their goals, then the more easily people are able to accomplish those goals. So we want to set a foundation for those DSPs. Certainly the success that we've seen with enabling technology, really transformative success for a large number of people, supports the fact that the more broadly we can provide that kind of training and awareness, the more broadly available it'll be across people receiving services in our network.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, one more question submitted. Will DIDD be willing to do online training for investigations like this offering to providers? Teresa, would you like to discuss the training process for investigations?
Sure, and I'm going to just state the question that I'm answering in case it's not the question that's being asked. I'm sure if it's not, y'all will let me know quickly in the chat, and I will answer the correct question at that point. The question I think that is being asked is, will we provide online training for provider investigators when we're moving to the one system? The answer to that question is absolutely yes. As a matter of fact, we're working right now with our partners at TennCare to develop the training within the QUILT system for provider investigators. The That training should be up and running as soon as we can finish development and get it loaded. Of course, everyone will know as soon as that is ready. And a matter of fact, all the training for provider investigators will be online through that system. Thanks, Kara.
Thanks a lot, Teresa. Okay, we are going to start going through questions in the chat box. Those were all the questions we had pre-submitted. The current 1915C waiver expires 12/31/24. As part of the integration plan, changes to the 1915C waiver will be handled through amendments. Will the 1915C waiver continue as a 1915C through 12/31/24, or will it be closed prior to the expiration? Jordan, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. It'll, kind of be in the context of some of the other responses at this point. I'll tell you that we certainly have no plans to change the demonstration of the 1915C waivers previous to expiration. I would say that with the caveat that it's probably too early to tell that if we get through the single program service design a year or 2 years from now, and we as a community make the determination that a change is necessary, then there may be a change indicated. At this point, we're planning to run both the 1115 and the 1915C waivers in their current demonstration concurrently, and we have no plans to change the 1915C before its expiration in due time. So I think it's probably too early to say definitively. I can say that there are no plans at this point to change anything previous to its expiration.
All right, stay on the phone. What is the timeline for the combination of residential and day services into the community-based living supports model? Jordan.
Yeah, I think that the timeline for that, again, is kind of consistent, not kind of, or it's consistent with when we're at a place where we can implement the single service approaches that we're talking about now. Again, since we're at the very beginning of discussions around design and concept, we do know that we've heard loud and clear from people supported and provider agencies that artificial delineation between day and residential services creates more boundaries or presents more barriers for people and providers than it does assist them. And so we want to erase that barrier. The point at which we implement that change will be the point that the other service decisions and service changes that will be decided in the months to come go into place. And so that'll be post July of 2021, but exactly when that will happen after that, I don't think any of us can say right now. It might be 6 months, it might be a year, it may take longer. I know that we have we've received enough feedback at this point that I think we fairly clearly understand where it is people supported and their families and the network would like to see services driven, how quickly we can come up with a concept that supports people in their desires to achieve their goals and supports providers in their ability to remain healthy. That's yet to be determined.
Okay, our next question is, CQL is specifically mentioned in the integration paper. Will other accreditation bodies like COA, CARF, and Joint Commission also be considered in the same light as CQL? Jordan?
Yeah, I think that we're certainly unabashedly in approval of the CQL approach. It's really, from a total system and person-centered standpoint, it is the gold star. It's certainly, in our estimation, the most complete package of accreditation and most closely aligns with the department's mission and values. I think that consideration of other accreditation bodies is a conversation that we need to have between us and stakeholders in our provider community, and certainly TennCare involved in that discussion also. And so I don't think that we're at a point where we're able to rule anything out, but I would say that the CQL approach to accreditation, the content of their curriculum and the attunement of the CQL approach to accreditation is something that we buy into wholeheartedly.
All right, jumping down to the Q&A box, which I cannot see, just so you know. But luckily I've got Carly's eyes on there for me. But I would really request, if you do have questions, if you guys can use the chat box. For some reason, it's easier for me to see that. When the new rapid self-tests for COVID-19 are distributed in Tennessee, will any be available to DIDD providers? Dr. Davis, do you want to discuss this?
Yes, Kara. I've been in conversation with the Tennessee Department of Health about our testing program and what that will look like going forward. There are still decisions being made about that. One of the things that we are going to be discussing is the rapid tests that are being referenced here. Those may provide a much quicker result, obviously, to a testing need that we may have. So that's of great interest to us. No decisions have been made as to how those will be distributed as yet. And so I will keep you posted as we get more information. Kara?
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Davis. Next question. The integration proposal, it is mentioned that there are several ideas and thoughts floating around related to billing, but these ideas are still being discussed. What are the systems and ideas currently being explored for a unified billing system? And are providers participating in the discussions to discuss the validity and feasibility of the different options? I'm going to start with Deputy Commissioner Andy Kidd, and Jordan may want to add anything to that, but let's start with Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Kara. So currently we're looking at kind of some of the technical specifications, not the business requirements yet. So we have some, basic standards that, we're working with FNA and Strategic Technology Solutions, the IT department, making sure that we have those requirements and making sure that we have project manager and kind of those early on project management details, but we definitely want the feedback from providers, especially on the business requirements. So that information will be forthcoming, and we want the feedback. In fact, we'll be setting up specific meetings with the providers, and we'll invite everybody on here to have some feedback, especially around the business requirements. Thank you.
Great, fantastic. Okay, so I do not see any more questions in the chat box. Like I said, I have difficulty seeing the Q&A box, so I do not know if there are any other questions there, so I apologize. So I will pause 10 seconds, see if we get any more questions in. I'm trying to think. Oh, one thing I did want to mention with you all is on our IDD integration page, we will be posting a stakeholder feedback summary later today. That kind of summarizes how many comments we received on certain issues. So you all can kind of take a look at some of the things that guided the overview document for those who are interested in knowing some of the feedback that we received. So we will have that on our IDD integration site in a little while. So with nothing else, I am going to go close this out to Commissioner Turner. Also, for those state employees who may be on here today, it is Team TN State Employee Appreciation Day, and we are so thrilled to work with the best team in state government. So I will give it to the best boss in state government, DIDD Commissioner Brad Turner.
Thank you, Kara. I appreciate that. And again, thank you to everyone that has participated today. This was certainly what our vision looked like when we anticipated beginning these office hours with this type of discussion and being able to provide hopefully some answers and some good context around decisions that are being made and direction that we're heading. And I want to continue to encourage you to make sure that you do that you continue to submit these questions, continue to work with us as we're moving forward. And I think these meetings are perfect examples of that. And I know that they've got a lot of positive momentum. And I appreciate the fact that we've got over 500 people on this call every week. And on many occasions, we get closer to 6. So thank you again for that. Certainly hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Let us know what we can do to help you and support you. And with that, I'll turn it back to Kara.
All right. Thank you guys very much for this discussion. Reminder, we will be having a Webex on Friday to talk about all things integration. If you would like to join us for that. We are thrilled you guys joined us this week, and we will see you next Wednesday like we always do. Bye. Have a good week.